Joshua Fabia, this absolute prick, this absolute scumbag. Fighters, this is going to shock a lot of people. Fighters are very, very easy to manipulate. Not all of us. We're not all to the same level. You know, maybe they didn't have a father figure around or whatever, but when somebody comes along and they really pretend that they care about you and they've got your best interests at heart and they're a good salesman, they're a good con man, they can really get their hooks in. And that is exactly what Joshua Fabia did to Diego Sanchez. Now, Jesse on Fire, who's hosted this show a couple of times as a YouTube channel, he's been covering this a lot. I don't have the actual details to hand, but I did see a bit of a video that he posted where Fabia was essentially blackmailing him. Diego wrote him a check for $100,000, but Harrington, maybe you can just paint out the A to Z of it all for people to understand exactly what's going on.
So Diego did open up a bit about it. He talked about having Fabia in his life. He said that, once Fabia got a look at his finances and saw that, there might not be as much money in there as Fabia thought, he started to become very hostile. He was issuing threats. The quote here, everybody wants to tell me, why didn't you just snap his neck? Why didn't you just crush the guy? If I was you, I would have just snapped him. Yeah, I would have loved to do that, but I'm dealing with a very unstable, mentally unstable, sociopathic psychopath. That is basically the best way I could put it. You're dealing with a Charlie Manson type of mind where he's gone so far that it makes him unstable and dangerous. He went on to talk about how he claimed he was an ex-trained killer, ex-hitman, ex-contract worker for the cartels. And Sanchez says that he feared for the life of not only him, but his child and the mother of his child.
Do you remember that video that came out when he went into that fighter meeting and started
where Paul Felder kind of confronted him?
Yeah. I would love to have been in that room and just beat the shit out of that guy. Because if anybody is going to be able to be, and I mean this, if Diego sees this, I mean this with the most respect. There's some people that that guy could be manipulated because he just is so trusting. And that's Diego Sanchez. He took the one person that was clearly had the ability to manipulate. You know what I mean? And it just, I remember when I interviewed him just by myself, and I just happened to catch him the one time in a year or a year and a half that he wasn't with Fabia. I just happened to catch him when I asked him if he would do an interview with me. And he made me promise that I put it out, and he kind of went off the rails a little bit. You could tell that's when he was at his most vulnerable, when he was at his most damaged at that point with Fabia, and that was kind of right before the beginning of the end. But I remember just feeling so sad I've actually never told, I don't know if I've ever told this story. When I interviewed him, it was about 40 minutes or 45 minutes of him just kind of losing his shit. And he made some really, it's still out there on YouTube, but he made some crazy claims. The UFC was trying to kill him, and he had all this dirt on Dana. And I called Dana first and said, I just interviewed Diego, and he went off the rails. He's lost it, and this Fabia guy has got his brain so twisted. And Dana, to his credit, it was one of the coolest conversations I've ever had. He said, you made a promise, put it out there. And when this Fabia guy leaves Diego penniless and broken, I'll be there to pick him back up. So Diego's always good with me. He can say whatever he wants. When this Fabia guy's done with him, I'll be there to pick Diego back up. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. That was 2 years ago.
And I don't even need to piggyback on that, because I've said so many times, and people just call me an arse licker and a company man, but that's the side of Dana White that people don't see.
That they don't see.
And even though, and we don't need to do it, but even though we constantly tell these kind of behind the scenes stories, people aren't interested in that. They only want to hear negativity. They don't want to hear that's us trying to keep our jobs. That's us trying to make money and all the rest of it. Or how about for 1 second telling the truth and telling the shit that you really see, not the shit that they see on social media or these horror stories and all the rest of it. So shut the up, okay?
Well, when they write a story about this episode, they're not going to put that story in there. That's just
No.
the simple fact. They're not going to put that
Anthony
in there
Smith
because
blames Magomed Ankalaev loss on broken ankle.
right. It's not going to be that Diego Sanchez was losing his mind because he was being manipulated by this piece of shit Fabia, and then said the most inflammatory things about his boss. And his boss's reaction was, I love Diego. When this guy's done breaking him, I'll come back in and I'll help fix it. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. Literally right now, Dana is standing behind Diego, trying to help him.
About that.
Right now, he's trying to help him. Like, get him back on his feet. And no one
is he really? In what sense?
I think he's got some lawyer shit going on that he's helping Diego out with, and just trying to keep food on his table. Like, and no one else. I'm the only one saying it. Like, Diego will say it, but like, I'm the only one that's saying that. You know what I mean? That's not in the stories and the clicks and all the other. Again, like I'm going off on a tangent now, so I'll get back to the point. But
no, it's fine.
That's like you said, that's the shit that nobody sees.
Because Diego Sanchez, let's get it back on track. Diego, I think it's fair to say he had a bit of a breakdown, right? And I think the final straw kind of came in this all when Joshua Fabia was requesting, and I don't know the full details, the medical records of Diego, because they were trying to somehow build a case where they could sue the UFC.
Right.
On letting him fight whilst he had CTE or something like that. And they're like, well, hold on a minute. If you're even thinking about that, then he cannot fight. So essentially, this Fabia dickhead, this piece of garbage that was just trying to use him and take him for every last penny that he could and manipulate him, was just, and use him as a door to sue the UFC just for his own financial gain. Because the end of a legendary career, a Hall of Fame worthy career, he's already in the Hall of Fame. One of the original fighters, the man that won season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter.
Crazy.
And then has no problem. I've seen this video online where he's just berating Diego, speaking down to him like he's a naughty child, where a teacher doesn't like the student and he's talking to them like shit, or like a sergeant major or a drill sergeant would speak to a maggot that just joined the army. That's how he's talking to him, and the whole time. And Diego writes him a check for $100,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What kind of number?
The video is terrible.
What kind of number have you done on this guy for him to do that? Because make no mistake, Diego could beat the living shit out of this guy. And he ain't no special forces dickhead. He ain't no contract killer for the cartel. He's a prick that runs the school of self-awareness and hangs Diego upside down and kicks him in the head whilst filming it. He came into that fighter meeting in Abu Dhabi and he wanted everything to be about him. And the questions weren't about him. So he starts kicking off and Felder loses his mind every single time. Remember the video of Matt Serra? Matt Serra started on him as well.
Yeah.
Matt Serra didn't take no shit. He put him right in his place.